Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick video in the shop today. It's we just closed up for customers. Pulled my car in, use my stall tonight. We're gonna do a real quick install of something that I've been waiting for about 3 months. This here is a rear Spec E46 ground control adjustable sway bar. So I've been having an issue with the car that when I initiate and then go into a long sweeper style corner, the car doesn't have a whole lot of power. So it's still basically a stock 328 engine, maybe 170 horsepower to the tire. So what happens is when I initiate and then clutch kick and get on the throttle hard, the car has a ton of rear grip and it's hard to shoot wide on long sweep corners. So I've tried messing with shock suspension settings, alignment settings, and the thing just it's still too gripped up. I'm having to run a real skinny tire, which is fine, but I'm burning through tires like crazy. So I want to add the sway bar to hopefully make the car float a little better, make it a little less grippy, easier to drive in the back. Essentially adding spring, it's essentially adding more spring to the car when it's under load, under transition. So it should stiffen it up, the rear suspension some, loosen the car up in the corner, make it a little easier to drive, and then I can run a little bit wider tire and get some tire life out of this thing. So I'm gonna do a real quick install video. This should be pretty much a bolt-in deal, but let's get it in here and get home. Okay, so I tried to put this thing up in there, and you can see that there is a cutout, kind of a different shape on the sway bar. So steep angle on this side, shallow angle on this side. The problem is that shallow angle is hitting on the diff right here. This bar that I waited 3 months for is welded in backwards, I'm pretty sure. So I'm very impatient. So I'm gonna take and grind down the edge of this diff mount where it's touching and try and get it in here and see what it does. So I just took a flap disc on my grinder and just ground the edge of this rear diff off. We'll see if it makes enough room where we can mount this thing up. So this mounting hardware they sent me is weird too. These normally have a bracket that goes over the top, index is in the front. This was the one they sent me, was designed to use a plate, but there's nowhere to bolt the plate. There's not enough meat. So I think what I'm gonna do is use the slotted portion for the top and then just bolt through the plate and kind of sandwich it. All right, so I think it's still gonna touch. No matter what I do, this thing, just because it's shaped wrong, I don't wanna chop any more off this diff. So I am going to get the front end of it mounted up on both sides, rotate it exactly where it belongs, and just see how bad it touches. If it's not super bad, I'm gonna run it and just see if I notice anything. You know, sometimes you can get away with the sway bar. All the sway bar does is twist. So you can twist and rub, and as long as it's not too bad, then I will deal with this issue later. But for now, I'm on a time crunch to try and get the wife to dinner, hopefully. So I grabbed some hardware. We're gonna have to mount this thing in single shear off these X3 uppers. I don't wanna have to do a single shear long term. You know, single shear is where it's only mounted through one tab right there, see? So it doesn't go all the way through, it just goes through the tab up here, and then it'll have a nut on the back side, so it's called single shear. It's not as strong, but we'll see. All right, I've got the phone kind of perched up on the toolbox there while I mess with this thing. I'm pretty upset about this, actually. I waited 3 months for this to come in. It was on back order, and they gave me an option to order something different, but it wasn't adjustable. So I told them no, I would wait. Yeah, it's just not gonna fit. It doesn't matter what I do here, this thing is not gonna fit right because they welded the diff drop down on the wrong side. It should be over here. So this pipe is welded backwards. So I'm gonna have to get a hold of the company. I don't know. I'm gonna try and grind on it just a little bit more and maybe hammer this mount in and just pull it tight and see what it does. I really wanted to run the sway bar for this weekend to try and save tires. So I'm gonna mess with this a little bit and report back, but yeah, I'm pretty upset. You know, I waited forever. This is a super expensive piece that should have fit right. It came in the wrong color. I don't like yellow. I didn't order yellow, I ordered gray. So, I mean, I know it's silly, but you pay for this stuff, it should be right. So I'm gonna go back to messing with it and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I basically just used a long bolt for now to suck this bushing down tight. And there's definitely some significant interference here. So we'll just have to see if it squeaks, pops, rattles, does whatever. At least it bolts in so we can try it. I'm gonna finish it up now. I guess the only good thing about all this is it's kind of sheet metal. So it's soft. So it kind of bends at your will. Kind of just hammer down on it and hope it tightens up and bends itself straight. And it looks like it's going in, kind of. It's not the prettiest thing. Definitely not the caliber the way I did the rest of this car, but I'm by no means a master fabricator. I just kind of go with what I can do, but this is janky. We'll just have to see if it feels like it's binding up at all in the suspension. It could be hard to tell, to be honest, because I don't know what it drives like with a sway bar, so I have nothing to compare it to. But I do know what cars feel like when they're broken, so I'm going to tighten these down. All the hardware is different sizes, mismatched. Some of it's metric, some of it's not. Sometimes the days just turn out like this. I wish it wasn't yellow. It does fit though, so that's good. Feels fairly stiff. I have it in the middle setting. I wanted it to have multiple adjustments. This has 5 adjustments on it for variability. Ooh, how am I going to get to that? All right, well, it's almost in. It's definitely rubbing. It's under a ton of tension right there. We'll have to see if it causes a binding. I'll let you know. I did make a sweet purchase though. I got a long handle flexi head locking Matco 1/4 inch. I hadn't seen a really long handle 1/4 inch without the plastic bits on the end. I like just regular steel ratchets. They don't get gummy when they get stuff on them. I hate that feeling of the plastic rubber stuff they put on all these new ratchets. It makes it slippery and slimy. I prefer just a steel ratchet, but Snap-on doesn't make one that has a good pivot end on it. It's just been one of those days. I just dropped and blew up my ratchet. Awesome. Okay, it's mounted in there. This is what I was talking about on these other ratchets, this gummy stuff. I've had this ratchet for like 4 or 5 years. I haven't liked it the whole time. I can't believe I literally dropped and broke my brand new ratchet. The head popped right out. The little tab inside of here is missing, so I'll have to get with the Matco guy and fix that. I cannot believe how long of a day this has been. I try not to complain too much, to be honest. Today I have been complaining all day, so it's time for an attitude adjustment. But long story short, we got the sway bar in. It doesn't fit right. The Heim joint idea was great, even though it is mounted in single shear using the X3 arms. Then I didn't have to fabricate anything. It was just a bolt in. So that is good. I just need to tighten the jam nuts, adjust the preload on the sway bar. Sorry, my face was real close there. I just need to adjust the preload on these rods to see and make sure that it's not binding. But I think that the issue is gonna be there, that it is binding on the diff right here. Right here. I think this is gonna be a problem. So I'm not gonna mess with the preload. I'm just gonna set the jam nuts, drive it, see how bad it is, and then decide if I wanna try and keep this thing in here or just take it out. But I have an event this weekend, so I will make that decision today on the way home. That's gonna be it for the video. Unfortunately, it wasn't a nice flashy like yay type video. It was a frustrating video, but you know what, you run into that kind of stuff when you do this. Overall, this car's been pretty good to me. I haven't had any major issues that I couldn't figure out. This is the first one where I bought something and it didn't fit right. So, and it's not my fault, you know, stuff gets made wrong all the time in the aftermarket world. So I'm gonna rehang the exhaust back here. I just have these old stuff that was on the car before. I just need to put the hangers back up, and then yeah, we'll go drive it and see. But thanks for hanging with me. If you decide to watch this, that's cool. I will be making more videos, hopefully, of actually driving. So until next time.